You're live. Alright, so this is live because my actual phone went for an unauthorized riverine operation and turned itself into a paperweight. So this is a backup phone that does not have cell service but does work on Wi-Fi, which is now connected to Wi-Fi in Texas, broadcasting live to YouTube. Uh, so that I can reshoot the Torah portion and Ecclesiastes 4 and 5 reading from this weekend's Shabbat that is on the now defunct phone. So, I can't believe he's drinking beer and talking about the Bible. Yes, he is. Because it's now Sunday evening, it's no longer Shabbat, and I'm trying to do this so that we can actually get the Torah portion done, and I feel like having a beer. So, judge not, lest ye be judged. So anyway, I see there's a few of y'all here. That's cool. Hello. Really, the only reason I'm live is because I don't think I have the bandwidth to record a video and then upload it on this backup phone. So we're going to get right into it. Last week we talked about Numbers 15 and the Zitziot, Zitzi. Do these for all your generations. The tassels with blue cords in them, blue threads, to be sanctified, which means set apart. The Father says, my people are, hey, Gordy. How are you, brother? The Father says, my people are to be a peculiar people set apart. Hey, look at this. APN, a peculiar people set apart. And so anyway, the Father tells us, like, look, y'all are going to be a little bit different than everybody else. And so we had that teaching there. And wouldn't you know, Thursday, I was at the tire shop dropping one of the work trucks off, and I got done doing what I was doing inside, and as I was walking out, this lady says to me from across the room, she says, hey, I like your Zitzi. I turned around and I said, hey, I like the fact that you know what they are. And we had about a 15-minute conversation in the middle of the tire shop, which ended up with the two of us kneeling on the floor in the middle of the tire shop together, and exchanging numbers. And I've now found an entire group of people who keep the Lord's commandments and have a testimony of Yeshua HaMashiach, Jesus the Christ, in North Texas that I didn't even know about, because I was set apart and I did this thing that we are supposed to do for all generations, which is the Zitzi. So that's Numbers 15, the end of Numbers 15 that we talked about last week. So what happens after Numbers 15 is the Father tells us, right, 1537, tassels on the garments is the heading I have in my Bible, which is the New King James Version. And then, you can get into these as well if you're so inclined. But anyway, so it says 1537, again the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, speak to the children of Israel, tell them to make tassels on the corners of their garments throughout their generations, and to put a blue thread in the tassels of the corners. And you shall have the tassel, that you may look upon it and remember all the commandments of the Lord, and do them, that you may not follow the harlotry to which your own heart and your own eyes are inclined, right? So basically, these are physical, visceral, evening squatch, physical, visceral reminder that the Father commands us to have these things on our belt loops, on the corners of our garments. Remember when Yeshua, right, this lady reaches out, and the translation in here is she grabs the hem of his garment. She grabs his tassels, and she's healed. These tassels they're just like a wedding ring that you would have on your hand, okay? They are a physical reminder to whom you belong and the laws that you are to keep, so that this covenant between you and this person that you're committed to will work out well for the both of you. Okay, so that's the idea behind the tassels, and we talked about that last week. So immediately after this instruction is given to Moshe, to Moses by the Father, good old Korah is like, heck no, I ain't doing it, right? So we get into number 16, the rebellion of Korah. And so Zachary Bauer at New to Torah has a good teaching on this. Pastor Joe has a teaching on this. Rob Skiba, I think, has a teaching on this. Hold on, I gotta hydrate. So, this is not a new concept. However, we are going to do it. This is our Torah portion this week. So, 16, number 16. Now Korah the son of Ishar, the son of Kohath, the son of Levi, with Dathan and Abiram, the sons of Eliab, and On, the son of Peleth, the son of Reuben, took men. Okay, so basically you got Korah, Dathan, and Abiram. They grabbed some guys, right? They put a crew together pretty quick. And they rose up before Moses with some of the children of Israel. 250 leaders of the congregation, representatives of the congregation, men of renown. Okay, so they gathered their captains together. So about 250 men, right? And they gathered together against Moses and Aaron, right? Not just Moshe, but Aaron as well, and said to them, "You take too much upon yourselves, for all the congregation is holy, every one of them, and the Lord is among them. Why then do you exalt yourselves above the assembly of the Lord?" They're basically saying, you're telling us to be sanctified and set apart by doing this thing, wearing these tassels. Aren't we already sanctified and set apart? Who are you to tell me I gotta do this, right? Is the gist, the bearish interpretation of what the complaint that Korah had for Moshe was. So when Moses heard this, he fell on his face. Now, when it says he fell on his face, he prostrated himself in front of the Lord, right? And so he's seeking guidance. It's important there. He has a point of contention between him and his brother, and he doesn't immediately open his mouth. He seeks guidance. So there's lesson number 1 in that. And he spoke to Korah and all of his company, saying, "Tomorrow morning the Lord will show who is his and who is holy, and will cause him to come near to him." Remember, holy means set apart. So basically they're saying, we're going to see what set apart actually is tomorrow morning. Okay? Which is the whole idea of the zitziot, the tassels, to be set apart, which is Korah's complaint. So tomorrow morning we're going to see what the deal is, right? We'll see who he chooses and who he causes to come near to him. Do this. Take censers, Korah, and all your company, put fire in them and put incense in them before the Lord tomorrow. And it shall be that the man whom the Lord chooses is the Holy One. You take too much upon yourselves, sons of Levi. Then Moses said to Korah, "Hear now, you sons of Levi, is it a small thing to you that the God of Israel has separated you from the congregation of Israel to bring you nearer to himself, to do the work of the tabernacle of the Lord, and to stand before the congregation to serve them, and that he has brought you near to himself, and you and all your brethren, the sons of Levi, with you? And are you seeking the priesthood also?" He's basically saying, like, it's not good enough for you that you have the keeping of the tabernacle. Now you want to be the priesthood too. You want to complain, bro? He's like, look at all the blessings that you have. The Father issues you a command, and you can't honor it. What leg do you have to stand on to complain, right? Therefore, you and all your company are gathered together against the Lord. And what is Aaron that you complain against him? Which is a great question. It's like, what problem do you have with Aaron, bro? And Moses sent to call Dathan and Abiram, the sons of Eliab. By the way, hey, Pastor Joe. Man, you are just the cat's meow, brother. I am super, super thankful for you and everything that you've done for me that you don't even know what you've done for me. But you started my Torah walk, and I could not be more thankful. So, with that, let's keep going. Excuse the pronunciation, because I'm a white dude in Texas, not a Hebrew 4,000 years ago. Is it a small thing? So this is their recourse to him, right? To Moshe. Is it a small thing that you have brought us up out of the land flowing with milk and honey, to kill us in the wilderness, that you should keep acting like a prince over us? Moreover, you have not brought us into the land flowing with milk and honey, nor given us inheritance of the fields and vineyards. Will you put out the eyes of these men? We will not come up. So they're basically saying, their retort to Moshe is, didn't you tell us there was going to be an inheritance here, a land flowing with milk and honey? Where's all these blessings you're talking about, man? And they're saying, should we put our eyes out? Basically saying, are we blind? Because we're looking around and I'm not seeing it here. So they're questioning Moshe's authority. Didn't you say you were going to do this? Here we are. I don't see it. I'm not believing what you're saying. Is there rebuke from Korah and Korah's people, Dathan and Abiram, back to Moshe? And so then Moses was very angry, you think, and said to the Lord, do not respect their offering. I have not taken one donkey from them, nor have I hurt one of them. And Moses said to Korah, tomorrow you and all your company be present before the Lord, you and they as well as Aaron. Let each take his censer and put incense in it, and each of you bring his censer before the Lord, 250 censers, both of you and Aaron, each with his censer. So every man took his censer, put fire in it, laid incense on it, and stood at the door of the tabernacle of meeting with Moshe and Aaron. And Korah gathered all the congregation against them at the door of the tabernacle of meeting. Then the glory of the Lord appeared to all of the congregation. So the Father came down. Just as Moshe said was going to happen, he said, we will see tomorrow. So here comes the Father, almost like two kids fighting, and here comes Dad walking down the hallway. I bet you got real quiet. All right. The glory of the Lord appeared to all the congregation, 16:20. And the Lord spoke to Moses and Aaron, saying, separate yourselves from among this congregation, that I may consume them in a moment. Then they fell on their faces and said, O God, the God of spirits of all flesh, shall one man sin and you be angry with all the congregation? So now, again, this is the second time you've got Moshe and Aaron. Now they are face to face with the Father saying, please, y'all, please don't, just because this one guy's out of line doesn't mean you have to smoke everybody. We talked last week about team building and how when one person gets out of line, everybody suffers. That actually builds unity. In this case, though, getting smoked by the Father would probably be a bad thing. It would definitely be a bad thing. So this is the second time they are interceding on behalf of people who are not very happy with them. So again, there's a lesson in there for us that even if we have a brother that's at odds with us. In this case, Moshe is face to face in the presence of the Father, right? But even for us, maybe we need to get in the presence of the Father when we have a brother who's coming against us, right? So their immediate thought, Moses and Aaron are not running around, swinging fists into people's jaws. They're beseeching the Father for intercession. Please, Yah, don't smoke everybody. Just because a few guys are out of line, don't smoke everybody. There's a huge lesson in there for us in our daily walk. So the Lord spoke to Moses, 23. Speak to the congregation, saying, get away from the tents of Korah, Dathan, and Abiram. Then Moses rose and went to Dathan and Abiram. The elders of Israel followed him. And he spoke to the congregation, saying, depart now from the tents of these wicked men. Touch nothing of theirs, lest you be consumed in all their sins. Interestingly enough, sin is transgression of the law. The law was, wear these tzitzit for all your generations. So we can see that sinning has direct consequences. Just like the guy back at the end of Numbers 15 out collecting sticks when he knew better, they made an example out of him when everybody took him outside the camp and stoned him. And I promise you, everybody that had a rock in their hand, they remembered that. And I'm sure they taught all their generations verbally, passed that on from there, that there are consequences for breaking the rules. All right. So Moshe is saying, don't even touch their stuff, dude. You want nothing to do with these people, because when the Father visits his retribution on them, you don't want to be associated with it. 27. So they got away from around the tents of Korah, Dathan, and Abiram, and Dathan and Abiram came out and stood at the door of their tents with their wives, their sons, and their little children, probably smugly. And Moses said, By this you shall know that the Lord has sent me to do all these works, for I have not done them of my own will. Now remember, that was their grievance. They're basically what started all this in 16, beginning of 16, number 16 is the accusation on behalf of Korah that Moshe takes too much upon himself, that these things are not of the Father. Okay, that they didn't, that Moshe is not speaking these things from the Father, that it's his own volition, his own interest in being a prince over the people. So Moshe is like, all right, check this out, dude. So if this happens, if nothing happens to these guys, what he says is, if nothing happens to these guys, then yeah, I made it all up. This is all from me. However, all right, so 28. By this you shall know that the Lord has sent me to do all these works, for I have not done them of my own will. If these men die naturally like all men, or if they are visited by the common fate of all men, then the Lord has not sent me. But if the Lord creates a new thing, and the earth opens its mouth and swallows them up, all that belongs to them, and they go down alive into the pit, then you will understand that these men have rejected the Lord. Now it came to pass, as he finished speaking all these words, that the ground split apart under them. Usually when the Father shows up, he shows up in a big way. And the earth opened its mouth and swallowed them up, and all of their households, and all of the men with Korah, with all of their goods. So they and all those with them went down alive into the pit. The earth closed over them, and they perished from among the assembly. Then all Israel who were around them fled at their cry, for they said, lest the earth swallow us up also. And a fire came out from the Lord and consumed the 250 men who were offering incense. Remember Korah's band of guys standing at the entrance to the tabernacle, his posse that he put together to come against Moshe and Aaron? So after the Father opens the ground up and swallows up Korah, Abiram, and Dathan, and all of their progeny and all of their stuff, then as soon as that's over, and fire, the Father smokes those 250 people that were standing at the entrance to the tabernacle, who thought enough of the situation thought enough of Korah's argument to side with him and against Moshe. 36. Then the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, tell Eleazar, the son of Aaron, the priest, to pick up the censers out of the blaze, for they are holy, and scatter the fire some distance away. The censers of these men who sinned against their own souls, let them be made into hammered plates as a covering for the altar, because they presented them before the Lord. Therefore they are holy, and they shall be a sign to the children of Israel. So Eleazar the priest took the bronze censers which those who were burned up had presented, and they were hammered out as a covering on the altar, to be a memorial to the children of Israel, that no outsider who is not a descendant of Aaron should come near to offer incense before the Lord, that he might not become like Korah and his companions, just as the Lord had said to him through Moses. So Miss Harmony, when we were having this teaching on the banks of the Illinois River in Arklatex, before my main phone took an unauthorized riverine operation and is now a paperweight, she made a great comparison. She said, when I was in second grade, we had a paddle that hung up on the wall, and everybody knew if we started to even get a little bit out of line, all the teacher had to do was point at the paddle, and everybody stopped, because it was a memorial. Good evening, Brother Mark. It was a memorial to act right, and that, can you imagine? The covering on your altar was made of plates, probably brass plates, that were hammered from incense censers from 250 guys that got smoked by the Father. That would probably be a pretty good reminder to not get out of line. All right, 1641. Now, all this goes down, okay? So, basically, day one, Moshe gets the direction from the Father, wear the tassels for all your generations. Day two, Korah's like, not doing it. Then, Korah gets swallowed up into the ground, and 250 guys get smoked at the entrance to the tabernacle. Then the next day, Okay, so Moshe and Aaron have their hands full. Okay, on the next day, 41, all the congregation of the children of Israel complained against Moses and Aaron, saying, "You have killed the people of the Lord." Now that is a big deal, right? To be accused of that's a grave accusation. So, and it's interesting that they say Moses and Aaron have killed the people of the Lord. Because if you just read the book, Moses and Aaron didn't do anything except listen to the Father, and twice fell on their faces and pleaded with the Father, "Please don't smoke these people. Don't take out the whole congregation just because a few people are out of line. Throw the bad apples out, and the rest of the bushel will be fine." Hydrate. Okay. So, after interceding twice with the Father face to face, shalom, Jimmy from Tucson. After interceding twice, the rest of the congregation is like, "You killed these people." Yeah, fake news is not new. We'll put it that way. All right. "You have killed the people of the Lord." 42. Now it happened when the congregation had gathered against Moses and Aaron that they turned toward the tabernacle of meeting, and suddenly the cloud covered it, and the glory of the Lord appeared. So Dad's walking down the hallway a second time, and he's not happy. Then Moses and Aaron came before the tabernacle of meeting, and the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, "Get away from among this congregation, that I may consume them in a moment." Now remember yesterday, Moses was like, "Please, please, just spare these people." And so the Father's like, "All right, go to the tents of Korah, Dathan, and Abiram," right? And so he swallows them up, just them and all their progeny and all their stuff, but not anybody else in the congregation. And then the 250 guys that were gathered at the entrance to the tabernacle that were basically, it's interesting, Elijah, didn't he do battle with 250 prophets of Baal? There's 250 guys at the entrance to the tabernacle. And so then the Father smokes those 250 guys. But the rest of the congregation is left alone. Presumably because Moshe beseeched the Father in intercession and the Father left them alone. Well, day 2, the very next day, here comes Dad walking back down the hallway again. He's like, "Didn't I tell you guys? Quit acting like heathens," right? And so he says, "Get away from the congregation. Go ahead, leave. I'm done." Which is what he had said the day before. Basically, "I'm not going to tell you guys again." So, and as a father, this resonates with me. How many times do I have to say, "Clean your room"? All right. So, 45. "Get away from among this congregation, that I may consume them in a moment." And they fell on their faces, again prostrated in front of the Lord. And they fell on their faces. This is 3 times in 2 days that they have beseeched the Father for intercession for a group of people that literally is accusing them of murder. If there's not lessons in here, brethren, we need to be that concerned with our relationship with the Father and that involved in His will for our life. And frankly, how often do you fall on your face and talk to God? I don't do it often enough. It seems like the only time I do it is when things are just miserable. Brother Keith, see you. When was the last time you fell on your face in supplication to the Father and thanks? There's a question. Howdy, Rick. So, we need to be better at that. And I say we, right here. Alright, next. So they fall on their faces again. 46. So Moses said to Aaron, "Take a censer and put fire in it from the altar. Put incense on it and take it quickly to the congregation and make atonement for them, for wrath has gone out from the Lord. The plague has begun." Now I gotta tell you, the plague has begun. I wish I had some real insight for y'all about what that means. And I did some research into it, and I found everything from, um, excuse me, completely unsubstantiated conjecture about nuclear radiation and aliens, man. You know that guy, Georgios Tsoukalakalos, the ancient alien guy, all the way to it is what it is. And I just have to go with that. Lois! Hello, Lois. Shalom. Uh, I just have to go with that. It is what it is. It says the plague had begun. Okay, there was a plague and it had begun. I can't offer any more clarification than that because I simply don't know. And I will not add conjecture. But I would encourage you, just like I want to know what that means, see what you can find. Let me know down below. If you know, let me know. But I don't know, other than exactly what it says. A plague had gone out from the Father. And I think of it like my visualization is like when a very large bomb hits, it goes out from there in a concentric ring. That's just the visual that I have, that the Father descends and it goes off. And as we'll see, okay, so I see it as like an epicenter of an explosion going outward. In my mind, that could be completely wrong. So, for the wrath has gone out from the Lord, the plague has begun. Then Aaron took it as Moses commanded and ran into the midst of the assembly, and already the plague had begun among the people. So he put in the incense and made atonement for the people. And he stood between the dead and the living, so the plague was stopped. So I don't know in what arrangement these people were, presenting themselves to where Moshe and Aaron were at. But it sounds like, to me, visually, just reading it, that Aaron circumscribed a circle in a path around the people with this censer full of incense, and in doing so, forestalled the spreading of the plague from there. So he created a gap, or stood in a gap around this group of people, the congregation, right? And so everybody that was inside that ring, everybody that was outside that ring made it. And I have no context for that. That's just what I see in my mind. That could be completely wrong, but that's how it sounds to me, or at least that's how I visualize it. And he stood between the dead and the living, so the plague was stopped. 49. Now those who died in the plague were 14,700, besides those who died in the Korah incident. So it wasn't like there were just a few people come on day 3 that had a small grievance with Moshe and Aaron. There were at least 14,700, call it 15,000 because some of them lived. Could have been 20,000 or 30,000 people showed up, shaking their fists in the air, acting indignant, accusing these two guys of murder when clearly they didn't do anything other than the Father's will. And then had the guts to go to a group of 3 to 5 million people. Obviously, they had captains of tens, hundreds, and thousands, but they passed word down the chain of command and said, look, we are going to do this. And as a result, had to deal with 2 rebellions, 2 mutinies, 2 insurrections in 2 days, and lost 15,000-ish people in 2 days because of it. 50. So Aaron returned to Moses at the door of the tabernacle of meeting, for the plague had stopped. That is our Torah portion for today. That's number 16 in its entirety, and I would encourage y'all. Emerson, hello, shalom from Brazil. What's up, brother? I'm happy to have you. I'm happy to have every one of you. So that's number 16, and it's in its entirety, and there's so many nuggets in there, like everything. This whole thing is full of nuggets. So I would encourage you guys, if you need clarification or want to dig deeper on anything, read your Bible. It's in here, and if it's not in here, it's probably in here, and if it's not in here, it's probably in here, and if it's not in here, it's somewhere. You can email somebody smarter than me and they'll probably give you an answer. Lois, I don't know what the incense was other than to say it was incense and it was used for making atonement, for getting right with the Lord, to not nullify but to make recompense for their sins, as I understand it. So, um, that's this week's Torah portion. The takeaway for me is, even when you got an angry mob trying to kill you, maybe the best way to respond to that situation is not to start throwing punches first, but to get centered in the Father and go, all right, what am I supposed to do? And remember, 3 times in 2 days, Moshe and Aaron prayed directly to the Father for intercession on behalf of these people who took them for granted. That is spiritual maturity, the likes of which I don't know if I will ever see, but it's a target, and one worth trying to hit, a benchmark worth trying to achieve. So that is now the 3rd time in 36 hours I've read Numbers 16. Once for me in Harmony, once for the video that never made it because the phone is kaput, and once for y'all. So as always, I hope you guys get something out of this. I am forever humbled. Jerry Voss, good evening, brother. Thank you. I'm forever humbled that you guys would care one iota what I would have to say, but at least in this case, it's what the Father has to say, and I just get to read it. So, yeah, I love you guys. You guys are awesome. I'm going to click this off just for a hot minute, and then I'm going to redo the Ecclesiastes 4 and 5 reading that is on the dead phone. Paul Meadow, hello, brother. I'll tell you what, guys, if you haven't already done it, go over to the, hi Ashley, go over to the Into the Fire channel. Schnooks and Home Skillet have a new channel, Into the Fire, that is specifically talking about their belief structure and their relationship with the Most High, the creator of the universe. And the first video they have up, it's about a half an hour long. Yeah, Home Skillet, out of the skillet and into the fire. So it's about a half an hour long, and it's their Torah story. And it's by the 9th minute, both Harmony and I were looking at each other with just tears coming down, going, this is us. So highly relatable, 2 excellent people who have a really good story to tell, and the Father's using them to do things. So I would I would submit that you should be a part of what they are doing over there. So go give them a shout, give them a high five, give them a hug, tell them you love them. And I'm going to cut this off, finish this beer that I'm drinking, my first of the day. The Father is amazing. A man of real faith. I'll tell you what, Ashley, all I do is I literally just try and read this. I try and do what it says, and when I don't, or I can't, or I mess up, I have grace to cover me. And the fact that I try and do what this says makes the grace not cheap. It gives it real value. That if I'm unable to do what I need to do, I have a covering. But I still try and do what I need to do to the best of my broken ability every day. And some days I'm better than others, but I'm always consistently amazed and humbled that the Father would use me to reach so many of y'all. And it's the most incredible thing. It's like when you see your children born, that feeling that you get, you're like, you know, this is special. This is special. So I'm super thankful for it. Anyway, I'm going to finish beer 1 of the day and click off of here. And we're going to read, I'll be back on in like 5 minutes live again. We're going to read Ecclesiastes 4 and 5. If y'all want to do that, join me for that. I'd love to have you. If you don't, I completely. I'll be back in approximately 5 minutes.